You are listening to Cemetery Confessions, the world's #1 goth talk podcast.
Hello and welcome back to Cemetery Confessions. On this episode, we are welcoming the company of Andreas, he, him, and Dani, they, them, two Swedish Goths with a long history in the scene. For myself, as a young person just entering the goth scene, the entire world seemed suddenly to hide a darkly romantic secret. Somewhere, buried 6 feet under, there was this esoteric and largely concealed community with their own rites, rituals, and strange funereal garb. I wanted nothing more than to peel back the layers of the onion and immerse myself into that swirling cauldron. As my horizons expanded, I became aware of goth music and fashion from all over the world, which continued to fuel my curiosity. I've always been predisposed to wonder at the world and the creatures within it. Why are they the way they are? Why do they do the things they do? Paul Hodgkinson was the first academic that I latched onto. If you don't know, he's a former goth who is also a sociologist, and he wrote fairly extensively on goth culture in the early 2000s. Within his framework for defining what subculture is, specifically through the lens of goth, is something he called consistent distinctiveness. At the time, there was a debate among modernists and postmodernists about the relevance of the term subculture in today's globalized world. When you have micro-fashions that can appear and disappear on the internet in a matter of weeks, is there still a place for the concept of subculture, something relatively coherent, consistent, and important in the lives of participants? Or should we move more toward an understanding of subculture, or maybe neo-tribes, as liminal with porous boundaries and fickle commitments? Hodgkinson, in part, argued that goth culture was consistently distinctive, in essence meaning whether you transplanted a goth from a bar in Mexico City to Chicago, to Tokyo or Berlin, you would still instantly have a substantial portion of your life in common with everyone else there. From music preference to fashion choices to hobbies to opinions on what goth even is, outside of some minor nuances, the meat of the subculture stays consistently distinctive. That question, though, has not gone away. What makes something distinctive from an abstracted mainstream culture, if that mainstream culture varies so wildly from country to country? And the other side of that might say, as we see an increased mobility and fluidity of cultural engagement across borders, how does that cultural homogenization impact the substance of goth? Well, of course, depending on your framework of choice, you're going to have a different opinion. Whether it's a Marxist dialectical materialism, Western hegemony's neoliberalism, or some form of postmodernism like Camus' absurdism, or phenomenology, or deconstructionism, and so on and so forth, you may have your own critiques about this portrayal of what culture is. For me, I subscribe more to the school of thought put forth by French philosopher Bruno Latour. It's not a sociology of the social, but a sociology of associations. It's the idea that culture and meaning arise from relations, interactive, reciprocal connections between humans and non-humans, physical, material, and non-physical concepts, ecological context, which includes the air we breathe, and the widely varied historical contexts that we move through. Goth, then, is not a concept out there to be grasped and studied, not an essential internal truth to be externalized and acted out, not some omnipresent hegemonic force, but a process, rather than the way most sociologists describe the social as something that already exists. Latour believes the social is something that must be formed and sustained over time, continually developing through material interactions and relationships. In this sense, what goth is varies from person to person and place to place. And yet, we still find a kinship, a commonality, and a community beneath this ever-shifting shadow that we call goth, or wave, or synth, or dark, or grufti, or. For now, though, let's leave such matters of academia behind us and instead embrace the lived experience of connection. While we don't set out in this episode to answer these questions with a depth and breadth of philosophical rigor, these questions and these concepts set the background for today's discussion. So I'd like you to imagine that you've suddenly been transplanted to an unfamiliar bar, sitting down with some local goths that you've never met, but are somehow feeling an instant kinship with. The low thrum of depressed bass guitar reverberates through the air. The clink of half-drunk pints pierces the low murmur of chatter. Sweaty bodies undulate on a fog-drenched dance floor. And as your beverage of choice slowly creeps its way into your body, warming your veins and relaxing your mind, you fall deeper into conversation with new friends that feel as if you've known them your entire life. So please sit down next to us and join the conversation. Now that the stage is set, the mise en scène depicted, Andreas, I'd like to get to know you a bit better. How did you initially get into the goth scene?
Oh, well, it's a good question. I actually gave that some thought when I saw the questions you sent me. I really don't know. Really, I started out as a punk back in my teens. I was very much into punk rock, especially Swedish punk rock and American hardcore. I still love Black Flag and Poison Idea and Dead Kennedys and lots of American bands. And then I think as I grew a bit older, when I got up to my sort of mid-teens or something like that, I started thinking like, yeah, well, punk rock is cool, but it's I'm a bit more of an intellectual. So it sort of came along with starting reading more advanced books, and then I had this older friend who said, have you heard about this thing? Goth was not a thing in Sweden. The word was not very common in Sweden back in. I think Dani G will remember this. Back in like the early 90s, people were not talking about goth really.
Yeah,
we were talking about if you would translate it would be dark rock, I suppose.
Okay.
In Swedish you would say svart rock. So you were svart
black
rockare, black rock, even that, yeah. Svart rockare, black rocker, And I hadn't really made the connection because I had listened a lot to Susie and the Banshees, for instance, Killing Joke, and not because they're a particularly goth band, but and Sisters of Mercy. I started digging Sisters of Mercy in the mid-'80s, I think, but I really never made the connection with a whole lifestyle, and then it all just came creeping up on me in a way. I started meeting other people about that age, and I remember meeting Dani G back in those days. He doesn't remember meeting me back in those days, though.
Oh, what was it at the punk collective?
Oh, yes.
Norrköping. Okay,
yes,
so we actually met.
Yeah, we did. I told you every time we meet, I tell you this, but every time we meet, we're both drunk, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah. We did hang out. We did hang out with the anarchists. In a commune. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so it sort of crept up on me, and then all of a sudden I found myself being a member of a goth band which I had never heard about before. It was this sort of weird goth band from the northern parts of Sweden. I had moved there for studies and stuff, and met this guy who said, I got this band called Dark Side Cowboys. You heard of us? Nah. No, we need a bass player. We got a tour in Denmark. And I was like, yeah, tour in Denmark. That's cool. Hadn't heard the music. I was just like, yeah, touring in Denmark. That sounds really cool. Yeah, I mean, that's sort of what happened, you know.
That's a fantastic story. Dani, what about you? What was your introduction into the dark side?
Yeah, I also hadn't heard about goth, but I was sort of on the path, and I wrote some poem or lyrics or something, and someone asked me if I listened a lot to the Nephilims, Phil's Nephilims, and I said no. And then someone asked me if I, because of my clothing, if I listened to a lot of Sister Mercy, and I said no. I think I heard of them, so I decided to check out what the hell this goth thing was about. So I surfed in on a link page called the dark side of the web or the dark side of the net. They changed names a few times, and I started reading about this mysterious ancient esoteric order of darkness, and I thought to myself, how can this be real? And then I found better sources. So it lost a little bit of the mystery, but I liked what I found, and started to buy compilation albums and found different bands from there. And it took a while for me to actually call myself goth, because imposter syndrome or something, because I didn't meet any other goths. But, so after a while, I decided it was silly to
well, in
to
the
deny
90s,
it.
that just makes you more goth if you don't call yourself goth.
It certainly did.
Yeah.
So awesome. So I want to kind of, a lot of the question, I have lots of different questions, but I want to explore some of the similarities and differences between our scene and your scene, because we are all connected by the internet now, but I still think subculture is influenced by local history and community and those sort of contextual factors. And I'm always fascinated with exploring what the shared experiences we all have as goths around the world, and also learning what's unique to a person or a city or a country. And I think maybe actually I would want to ask first about something that ties into that, which is the treatment of goth in society, and specifically, Andreas, I know you are the chairman of an organization called Sub, and I think you've worked with RTSI.
Yes, I
which
did.
are both, from what I've read, incredible organizations. So maybe we can start with that. Can you kind of explain what those are and what they're trying to accomplish, I guess?
Yeah, let's start with Sub then. Swedish, we say sub. In English, of course, sub. And of course, it has to do with subcultural movements. And it's the National Society for Subculture, actually, with very much of a focus on goth, industrial, and electronic music in Sweden. And this is also very contextual in most countries in the world. If you're into goth and industrial and electronic music, it's all kind of the same thing, you know, the same lifestyle, the same people. And it also very, very much is in Sweden. But in Sweden, sometime in the 80s, some genius dubbed everything that was electronic, dubbed it synth music. It's as far as I know, it's only Sweden who has that special word for just electronic music and being into electronic music. But we try to engage people from the whole subcultural, sort of dark subcultural scene. Call it dark wave, call it electronic, call it industrial, whatever. If you're into Depeche Mode, you're welcome to us. And we are a democratic non-profit organization. And talking about Swedish context again, for an American, this is probably kind of exotic. In Sweden, if you have a democratic national organization, you can get governmental fundings.
Okay.
To keep up your work. So we rely very much on governmental fundings, and there are a lot of fundings, governmental fundings for cultural organizations. These days we complain a lot because politics in Sweden and so on and blah blah, and I could talk about this the whole evening, but I will not bore you with Swedish internal politics. Anyway,
I might have one or two questions, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, bring it on later. And most of our members are smaller democratic non-profit organizations on more of a local basis. For instance, in Dani G's hometown, there is this really cool club, Gothic, electronic, industrial, whatever you call it. That's called Nuclear Nation. Really cool place. They are a member of our organizations. We got the national organization, then we got the more local, regional, city organizations coming down to individuals, of course. And a lot of artists, concert organizers, DJs, dancers, you name it, anything that's connected to sort of the dark scene. We got a few poets as well and some writers, everything cultural. Really. And that's the question. That's the answer for the first question. The second question was about RTSI, and RTSI is an acronym for the right to subcultural identity. So it actually translates perfect into English. And this is sort of an initiative that was started within the realms of our organizations, mainly for young people who were feeling that they were not accepted by society for being goths. Very inspired by the British Sophie Lancaster Foundation, if you've heard about it.
Yeah.
Very much inspiration from that. And still going strong after, I think RTSI has been around for about 10 years. Very close connections with the RTSI people. We were actually invited to Sylvia Lancaster, Sophie Lancaster's mother, to her funeral a couple of years ago. That's how close we work, actually.
Because I know when I was reading up on RTSI, they had information about alterphobia, which is their way of saying a fear of the alternative, of the other, and how that leads to discrimination. I know growing up as a goth here, there was a lot of conversation around accepting that you wouldn't be able to have an office job, that you're going to have to change some things about yourself in order to fit in into certain places, that if you go out to a restaurant or to get groceries, you're going to be made fun of and pointed at and laughed at. I think over time in America, the discrimination has gone from being called a slur and maybe even being beat up to being able to have tattoos and piercings and colored hair working at least at a retail job. So I wonder, in your experience, Dani, over the last 20 or 30 years, how have you been treated as a goth in society there?
Well, it's been okay, actually. I haven't experienced much persecution at all. Only time I got beat up was by a Nazi skinhead, and that was more a political thing. So no, I actually haven't. I have been lucky, but also I have autism, so perhaps people have made fun of me before I learned to understand it.
Right, the social cues are hard.
Yeah, and also when I was a kid, I was more into punk and metal, and that was more or less my whole class at school. So I was one in the crowd.
Right. Do you find So, for example, in your social life or your family life, have you had situations where people maybe expected you to grow up or behave in more responsible, appropriate ways for an adult instead of or is there like an idea that goth or alternative culture is more of a thing for kids and you should grow out of that?
No, not
Okay.
really. In my social life, everyone is alternative,
Yeah, I
and
have the same problem. Yeah.
yeah, and my family's my siblings have been pretty alternative too, and they have pretty much given up hope on me to ever grow up.
Yeah. Okay. So Andreas, then you work with a broader range of people. What do you see as something people might experience in Sweden?
I think Sweden is pretty much these days. It's not too hard being an alternative person in Sweden. You can you can work in an office. You can work in retail, and
You can teach.
yeah, absolutely.
Many teach.
We know. I think both you and I know a lot of teachers who are actually goths or punks, or at least used to be, and still keep some of it up. That's one side of it. The other side is that, yes, there is a lot of prejudice, and especially on the countryside. I think you can relate to that in the US as well. I mean, in central downtown Chicago, people would probably not point and laugh at you for being a goth.
Yeah.
But on the countryside, if you're living in Alabama, in a small town, you're not. I mean, just look at the West Memphis 3 and what happened there.
Yep.
And it's not that many years ago. Actually, it could still happen, and it still does in the US. And I'm not just blaming the US for being a bad country. And
we do, so it's okay.
we have the same. We have the same. Of course, we have the same sort of small town culture in Sweden. I would not feel safe, even though maybe today I would. I'm almost 50 years old, and I'm not very afraid of people anymore. But I wouldn't just walk around anywhere wearing my makeup and my leather jackets in the really small towns of Sweden. I would not. No. But in the larger cities I live in a small town, but this is in the southern parts of Sweden where, well, it's not very much of a small town feeling here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I meet a lot of people who have been subject for prejudice. Many girls who have been subject for sexual harassment. You know, the goth girls with the tiny little skirts, they just want to fuck, you know.
Yeah.
Have you tried a real man's dick any time, or is it just little goth boys' dicks? You know, that kind of.
So that happens there too,
goes on
huh? Yeah.
all the time,
yeah.
Absolutely, all the time. I haven't got beaten up because, just like Dani, I've been beaten up by Nazi skinheads at about the same time, I guess, and that was more political. That had nothing to do with goth, really. But I would like to point out, I mean, I've been touring the US and I've seen very many sides of different parts of the country, and walking around downtown Atlanta as a goth is very different from walking around downtown New York City or Chicago, for instance, or Boston by that.
Yeah.
For that matter. It's very different. In Atlanta, Georgia, which is a really large city, people look at you, really stare at you, come up at you saying, hey, are you some sort of gang? Happened to us in Atlanta. Very nice woman, though. And we explained to her, no, we're goths. This is life. Oh, you're goths. Oh, that's good. Would never happen in Chicago, I guess. Never happened in Boston. In Boston, people were more like, hey, man, cool jacket. I love Neubauten too. You know?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think the way...
And we shouldn't...
Go ahead. Sorry, Dani. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. And we shouldn't forget there was someone stabbed to death in Göteborg 2010.
Very good point. Yes.
Pelle Nordqvist.
Yep. And that's just 16 years ago, right?
Yeah, 2010.
2010, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that was just because he was sort of goth alternative.
Oh wow, I did not. Yeah, I had not heard about that.
No, I think it's.
Helen,
Yeah,
I don't think people outside Sweden have heard that
right.
much about it. Sorry,
Yeah.
Danny.
no, Pelle Nordqvist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was his
Mhm.
name.
Right. So, I was just going to say about the city thing, the way I've heard it described is more the states in America are kind of like their own countries in a way.
Yes.
And they're very different from one place to another.
Yeah, I could tell you the story about stopping at a hamburger joint in South Carolina, talking to the local sheriff. That was interesting. I can tell you that story another time. It was very interesting, though.
That would scare me, I think. That would worry me. Okay, well, let me ask. I have a few more questions about just sort of cultural things. On the other side of this is the discussion I see happening online about frustration with, I guess you call it mainstream media. So movies, TV shows, cartoons, comics, fashion, the way goth is talked about on the news. People here tend to be frustrated with the popularity of goth as it sort of continues to increase, and this sort of use of goth by normal broader culture as kind of, you just put some eyeliner on and a black shirt. It's sort of blended with metal and punk. It's a little bit edgy, but not edgy enough that it has anything important to say. It's not really connected to specific music. And maybe it's just a little bit sad. People complain about this sort of like watered down version of goth. And I was just curious if in your media there, it also uses alternative culture as in that sort of way.
Yes, absolutely. Swedish media and Swedish popular culture, more than media, I'd say, Swedish popular culture very much mirrors American popular culture.
Okay.
I think it was fun. You know, the movie The Breakfast Club from the 80s?
Yes.
With a goth girl sitting there looking like, I fucking hate the world. That's
Yeah.
fun. That's fun. And that's a real goth, you know. That's sort of, someone actually made some thought about it. And it was fun in the Blair Witch Project with this goth girl.
Oh, yeah.
All the jocks and the guys out in the forest, and there's this strange goth girl around. But that's also sort of, they actually got it. Okay, this is the goth. We know what to do with this because we know what goth is. But these days, yes, as you say, it's very much, what would you say, water version of goth. It's like,
yeah. Goth
yeah, not very edgy, and it's like, you worship the dark and like vampires. I really, I love vampire movies, and I hated those bloody American glittering vampire. What were those movies called?
Yeah, Twilight.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah, I hate, speaking about Breakfast Club, I hate the trope of goths turning quote unquote normal when they are out of their sad phase.
At the end of the movie.
This Must Be the Place is also terrible in that.
Yeah, you get a very good point there. You get a very good point. I didn't think of that, really.
I think what bothers me, well, I mean, part of it is music. They usually don't get the music right. I think the British show, the IT Crowd, is my first thought, where they have a goth, but he listens to Cradle of Filth. That's his, which you can listen to Cradle of Filth, but that's not a goth band. Or things like, you know, for me, DIY culture in goth is important, but it's also like kind of a critique of capitalism. I think like the fascination with death isn't just, ooh, cool, spooky. It also has implications for how you might live your life, how you might treat other people. It's not just about sadness or depression. And so I think it's that sort of portrayal of goth does bother me. Yeah,
I agree. I absolutely agree.
And sort of in that, on that subject, how much of the goth scene do you think people want to resist the values of mainstream culture? Sort of social deviance, religious taboos, transgressing norms. I think this is something, it's maybe, I don't hear people talk about it as much, this sort of subversion to social expectations, but I think partly because physical appearance has become more normal with tattoos, piercings, that kind of thing. A lot of the way I hear it talked about now is political resistance, being anti-racist, anti-sexist. So I guess my question is, what kind of is that an important part of the scene? What kind of social rules do you think that goth?
Well, we break taboos just by being different, and also by gender. Yeah, we don't live up to the gender expectations, and yeah, I think we give people permission to be themselves, just because we are strange.
With the gender thing, is there a lot of anti-trans or anti-queer sort of feeling in general culture, or is it more accepting?
If you read Swedish newspapers, you might think that that it is, because we have this political party, the Swedish Democrats, the Sweden Democrats. I think Swedish Democrats would be a better translation, but the literal translation is the Sweden Democrats. Right-wing party who has grown very, very large the last 8 to 10 years. And they keep complaining about gender issues. I mean, as we all realize, it is a really, really big issues with all these transsexuals and transvestites walking around everywhere, poisoning the minds of our children, you know. And it's not a big thing among the general public, I guess, until this right-wing populist party makes it a big thing. And that, I think that actually very much affects the goth movement in Sweden as well, because as Dani pointed out, we've always been very open-minded, and we've always been very open for, so you don't even want to have a gender, so whatever, fuck it. What should I call you? Him, his, him, her, it, this, that, they, them, I don't care. And most people on the scene really don't care about these issues. It's sort of a non-issue what bloody gender you have. But of course, it affects us when a huge populist party starts talking about it as if it's the biggest problem in the world right now. That would be, except for all the millions of Muslims invading Europe trying to Muslimize us all.
They're trying to make drag queens into something dangerous, and drag queens have been mainstream in Sweden since the 80s or something. So
one of the most popular groups of entertainers in Sweden for the last 30 years is a drag group.
After Dark.
Wonderful shows. Only drag queens. Very popular amongst the general society, you know. But yes, we do have a problem with this, and I'm sort of slipping out of the subject, but I think it's very important to talk about the right-wing movement in Europe, and you have the same problem in the US. I mean, talk about it with that president of yours.
Well, I wanted to ask about that because I was aware as well of the increase of far right sentiment in Sweden, and of course here it's. But I was wondering. I know I see online there are now red-pilled goths and stupid shit like that. Do you has the broader cultural increase of that kind of bigotry started to show up in alternative or goth spaces as well and made that more difficult, or no?
No. Okay. Not as far as I have seen. I don't know what you would say, Dani, but I have not seen very much of that. I mean, we've always had our a few far right people. You know, I listen to Justin June and Boyd Rice, and I think lifting my right hand when saluting people is a nice thing to do. That kind of people has always been around, and But no, it has not. It has not affected or inflicted us very much. What would you say, Dani?
No, I seen one incident with someone proclaiming they were going to vote for the Sweden Democrats, and he lost friends very quickly because everyone was shocked that someone inside the culture could actually vote that way. But since there's right wing streckies and right wing drag queens, so why should we be immune
Yeah,
to it?
yeah. We get in the Sweden Democrats, one of the large newspapers, the large national newspapers that I read, made a story a couple of years ago about this gay guy being very active, working for the Sweden Democrats, and both me and my wife were like, "Oh, what the fuck is this? He's gay, and he's far right. How do you even make this happen? You know?"
Yeah. I have seen, there's, I think, I won't remember the name of it, but there's an extremist far right group that has one or two trans members, and I think it's just trying to. At this point, they don't care because they want any support they can get, but obviously, it's to harm and hurt those people.
It's just sad.
Yeah. I think a lot of the political change here that I've noticed, and Trey, I don't know if you have a different thought about this, but I think goth, from my perspective, was less political in general, and a lot of the political activism and speaking about those sorts of issues I see happening from younger goths, Gen Z goths, sort of saying this is very important and this is a issue that we need to be concerned about as a community because it affects us directly. And that has sort of pushed the older goths more out of complacency and some maybe privilege that they have and haven't thought about. And I've been very proud of the younger Gen Z goths in the scene, even actually in a weird connection with the makeup, because I think Gen Z have an incredible makeup, partially due to the technology, the makeup technology we have now. But that came from drag as well. The drag community did the hard work to develop these styles, and now as a community we benefit from that. And so I think you can't separate these two things from goth being a queer connected culture and that sort of thing. Trey, I don't know if you have any thoughts in that direction.
I think you just pointed out everything. That's absolutely correct. I do agree very, very much. It's sort of with the far right growing stronger, you find yourself sort of forced into being a bit more political than you maybe thought that this movement would be. And see what I mean?
Yeah.
And about the makeup thing, yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I'm kind of jealous about the young goths.
It's incredible,
are doing so absolutely far out makeup stuff, and I'm like, how do you do that? You know, I'm quite nice. I have my eyeliner and my stuff. You know, like, yeah, and you look, oh, holy fuck, how do you do that? Sorry.
I was just going to say, from the political side of things, with goth, at least in my experience in the U.S., it seems historically, well, not historically, but since about the 90s, when I started getting into goth, there was a sort of a sense of isolationism where we were our own thing. We were a separate entity. We were only political in that we were just doing our own thing, and that own thing happened to buck societal norms, but we weren't being activists about it. We weren't trying to push it. We were just existing in the world. And we really just wanted to be left alone. That's kind of it's the Gen X thing in general. But 90s goth, 80s goth definitely had a little bit more activism because it still had that punk aspect to it. But through the 90s and to the 2000s, we definitely almost went full on insular isolationism. And now that we have a new generation who wants to be more engaged, mostly because the world has forced them to, because they're not given any opportunities anymore,
Yeah.
and they're just
Yeah.
struggling, so they need to fight for things just to survive.
Yeah.
When they're coming in and the old guard is saying, no, 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 we don't draw all the attention to us. We just want to be left alone and be over here enjoying our little box. But that's, I mean, that's not a sustainable movement. If you're a community that is bucking trends just by happenstance and you happen to be isolated, you will be targeted eventually if you don't do something about it ahead of time. So it's good that the younger generation is taking that spear and going. And no, we have to fight for our right to exist. We have to fight for our rights to, help shape society in a way that's more conducive for us and hopefully for everybody else as well.
Yeah. Well said. And the young Goths would hate this. 4 guys in our 50s sitting and talking about the philosophies of Goths. The young Goths in their mid-teens will say, "Oh, fuck off."
Hey, I tell myself to fuck off also, so it's
good.
fine. Have you, on that subject, before I change subject, have you noticed that there are more younger Goths joining the scene in the last 5 years than there had been? Or is it just sort of, because some places you go, everyone is over 45, and some places there's mostly 18 to 21 year olds. So I'm curious about what that looks like.
Out of a Swedish perspective, that's a very interesting question. So I would like to ask Dani G, what would you say about the parts of Sweden where you live?
Yeah, I think there's many that are older, but also there's new faces, and also kids too young to go to clubs are seen outside schools and in the DIY clothing. So it gives hopes for the future.
What is the drinking age there? Because I know that matters.
Normally 18, but it can vary depending on the club owner. So normally 18, which means that you're not even most of the times you're not even allowed into the club if you're not 18. If you're going to an actual concert venue, you can go with an adult or your sort of like your parent or guardian. Mm-hmm. If you're many places, I think they say 13. I guess I wouldn't know because I haven't gone with my kids to concerts very much. Mm-hmm. But it's funny because it's, as I said, it's kind of an interesting question because it varies a lot over the country.
Right.
Dani G lives in the eastern, southern parts of Sweden, and has one story to tell. Like I say, about many parts of Sweden, it's only the old Goths left. On the other hand, many parts of Sweden where you would not expect it, as for instance, the inner parts of northern Sweden, there is a huge growth amongst young people. We have this city up north called Östersund. Try and say that fast 5 times when you're drunk, being an American. Where there actually started popping up new goth bands with kids, like being 15, 16 years old, playing goth.
Wow.
Like, we love Bauhaus and Susie and the Banshees. And you're like, what? You even know these bands? Yeah. And that's really cool. So it differs very much over the country, but I would say in the larger cities and in the parts where Dani lives, which is more or less a large city area, it's sort of a growth all the time, but it's notable that in the most unexpected places, it also happens, really.
Mm-hmm. Well, that maybe answers, because I was wondering about what kind of music is popular, because I know Chicago is kind of an industrial city, but especially in the early 2000s, everywhere you went was future pop. But now I see death rock is becoming popular, goth rock is becoming popular, sort of leaving the dark wave explosion of music that we had for a long time. But I'm curious if it's similar there as well, or maybe you have more of a blending of different things.
I think that post-punk movement
Okay.
has been growing very much in Sweden. I think that is very much thanks to a lot of different Swedish bands. For instance, Then Comes Silence, band from Stockholm
Oh,
that you
yeah,
might know
yeah.
in the US.
Yeah.
Label mates with one of my bands as well on Metropolis Records. And they are really big everywhere right now. They are huge in Sweden, and but I don't think that they actually started getting people into post-punk. It was something that was happening amongst younger people, starting to discover, and that's also sort of a local cultural thing, because in Sweden, when punk rock broke in like 77, 78, something like that in Sweden, it very, very fast changed into post-punk and a very specific sort of new wave sound. I think you would agree, Dani, right?
Yeah.
A very specific Swedish new wave sound that has always been around, And in the 80s, it was huge. We had lots of bands in Sweden who were doing that kind of music, and they started coming back. And the younger people have started listening to it as well, starting bands. And so the post-punk thing is really big right now. And of course, old school goth in some parts of Sweden has become increasing a lot as well. And Sweden has always been very much, the audience in Sweden, or the Swedish, have always been very much into electronic music. We have a lot of good electronic bands from Sweden, as you might know. Dani?
Yeah, so also it varies very much between clubs, because as you mentioned, this synth subculture, some clubs are have more an emphasis on that, and that's so they play more EBM and future pop, and for a while there, unfortunately, agrotech.
Yeah.
No fucking guitars in our club,
But they play more goth nowadays also, and a little bit of everything.
I think I was very surprised at how popular older, like you mentioned, Bauhaus and the 80s and 90s bands have become among younger people. Because I remember maybe 10 years ago, a lot of people here were worried about genres like Witch House or other bands that were taking goth and blending it with things that people considered to not be goth, and were worried. A lot of people were very worried about this and thinking goth was going to die and no one was interested in goth rock or post-punk. And now what I see, a lot of the younger people are very interested in 80s music and like 90s ethereal goth, I see, and the death rock stuff is coming back. And so that's been very fun for me, but it just kind of reminded me that, culture is fluid, and what becomes popular or goes underground is always changing. And I try and worry more about having fun and doing the things that I enjoy, rather than, the goth is going to die or nobody cares.
I used to be very orthodox, like 20 years ago when I was young, or 25 years ago perhaps. I remember going to Germany to the Mera Luna festival, and there was this Canadian or American Canadian band, whatever, it's the same continent, called The Birthday Massacre playing.
Yes.
And
they're playing this year too.
Yes, these days everyone knows about the Birthday Massacre, and I was there as a journalist writing for this online zine, and listened to that. I was like, oh, fuck off! What is this shit?
Yeah.
This is sort of college rock. It sounds like Green Day, but with more depressive lyrics. And these days, I really enjoy the Birthday Massacre. Actually, I think they're kind of good. Well, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. Mera Luna is always interesting to me because I don't know if they still call it a goth festival, but they have a lot of gothic metal and metal bands that play.
They don't. They call it. It's since it's in Germany, it's a wave festival. That's the word they mostly use in Germany for goth, EBM, industrial, everything, and one umbrella, and the umbrella is called Wave, simply.
Right. Okay. Well, okay, so that's a great way to ask you this question, because we do like to talk about what goth is on this podcast, and sometimes that kind of just happens by talking about goth and talking to other people instead of just saying, well, what is goth, or is goth just music, or do you need to dress goth to be goth, or do you have to paint your house black, or whatever. But sometimes I do like to ask about your people's opinions about how would you describe goth, what is involved in something that counts as goth, what is goth music. So I would love to hear maybe if there are debates that you hear happening, or just sort of what your opinion is and how that's changed about what qualities or what behaviors make something goth.
Well, I think we both can tell you that some 25, 30 years ago, this was a debate amongst us and our friends wherever we hung out. What's goth actually, and who's goth? And I'm more goth than you know.
Yes,
I've always been. I was born goth.
Yes.
My mom read Edgar Allan Poe when she gave birth, that kind of stuff. Now, as we enter our 50s, it's not really an issue anymore. Mm-hmm. What would you say, Dani?
Yeah, I would define goth as it's a subculture devoted to question what is goth, and we wear lots of black clothes and dance to sad music.
Right, and a love for bats.
Yeah,
important.
I heard someone say recently that goths love octopuses, octopi.
Octopi, I think.
Yeah.
The correct, is also I think true, in the Greek it would be octopodes. It would be the plural, but I think octopuses is actually the correct.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Octopi is just what the elitists like to say it is because it sounds all Latin and fancy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
but I think
I actually did study some Latin.
Yeah, but octopus is
very
a Greek word, isn't it? So
right.
So,
why it's octopodes.
Yes.
Yeah, of course you're right. Yeah. Well, that ended that discussion.
Please, yeah. Don't turn this into a grammar show because
I like tentacles, though.
Well, but I read or pay attention to so much linguistic media. I love my word channels.
You can, yes, you take the lead then.
No, yeah, I can join you there. I'm not as good at when it comes to English grammar and English linguistics as when it comes to Germanic languages and linguistics.
I would agree. I do think I care to some degree, but I think a lot of the people that react to this online and worry, oh, the kids don't know what goth is and everybody's getting the wrong idea and you're very confused and this is so important. I do think it is important, but it is less and less important to me. And more just interesting.
When I hear people talking about that, and especially people our age still debating it, it's all like, yeah, maybe I should just leave this chat room, or maybe I should go and make some popcorns.
Yeah,
it's just fucking stupid. Anyway, I would say I would love to hear younger people in their 20s sitting down over a glass of really, really sour red wine, discussing, what is goth? Yeah, that would be wonderful to be a fly on the wall on that discussion. But frankly, I don't give a fuck anymore.
Next episode,
I still think it's have some importance because we don't want the subculture to be hijacked. But
you have a point there.
Yeah, but I don't care about if someone says a band is they like a band and they say it's goth or they call themselves goth, but I don't really think I'm not gonna attack them or really care.
Right.
I done my part in that discussion.
The elitist part of that, where you see someone and you're at a concert and someone's wearing Killstar, and you say, what are your top favorite songs? It's like they're here, they're dressed sort of goth, and they're listed. What more? What do you want? Like, they're here. They're having fun. They're dressed
Actually,
apart. It's all right.
yeah. I agree with you. What else do you need?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they can be really. They would be really nice and a nice person,
Yes.
and then you have the other elitists who listen to all the right bands and wear only DIY clothing,
Yeah.
and then it's a fucking bigots.
Yeah.
So
that does become a problem, I think, with people that are, I think, more abusers than bigots here is what I see, but people that look the part, they're part of the scene, they're a DJ, they're in a band, and everyone lets them get away with it because they're cool, they're popular. So that's more of a problem than a young person who's maybe their favorite band is Birthday Massacre. Who cares?
Well, we were touring the US with Morlocks, one of my bands, a couple of years ago. We actually realized after talking to American friends, and we also saw from stage what was happening in front of stage. It was like there was at some places who were like guys who looked like they were, and men, of course, looked like they were very much into industrial music, gothic music, that kind of stuff, and who acted like fucking jocks, pushing people around, like, oh, I'm bigger than you, so you move because I want to be closest to the stage.
Right. Yeah.
And that was happening a lot in the US, and I haven't seen that very much in Sweden. It can happen. It still can happen, and we have some of that kind of types within, as we said, what we call the synth movement in Sweden. There are some individuals about our age who are still being very much like, just move,
macho,
really macho guys, But I saw a lot of that in the US, and that really bothered me,
Yeah, I think there are some people in the industrial scene that are very much in this sort of masculine, like classic cars, big muscles, like heavy, hard, I'm a tough guy kind of thing that I'm very not attracted to.
That doesn't have to be a bad thing. I mean, I love classic cars. And the guy, our American friend who were our driver and merch salesman at our tour, he actually has a fucking Trans Am on his driveway. And it's so cool. And he's a cool guy anyway. Oh, he doesn't vote very well, but Americans can be Americans. So,
I do have some friends who are queer, trans, and bi, and that sort of thing, that are very good mechanics, and they've offered multiple times to say, hey, come, we'll teach you some things about your car in a safe place, because you can learn how to do this yourself, which can be very important. And I do like to see that. It's not associated with that toxic masculinity. Well, let me ask some music questions, because I have to bring up the band I'm most familiar with, Dark Side Cowboys. Is absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
And you sort of mentioned it early on, but I was curious. You started back in the 90s. I wanted to know how that band came to be.
Well, I almost said I wouldn't know because I wasn't around. I wasn't around when the band started, but they, the guys who did started back in '93.
Okay.
In the northern parts of Sweden. I became a full-time member in '96, '97, somewhere around that. I told you early on that I met this guy at a party who had this. We're talking about his band and how they needed a bass player for a tour. And I just said, I play the bass a bit. Okay, you want to join? Yeah, sure. And it was initially it was just meant to be for that tour, and then I started listening to more and more of the old demo tapes. They had made an insane amount of demo tapes for being around for just 3 years. I was like, this is really, really good stuff, And one thing led to another, and I became a full-time member, and here we are today. And it's 30 years almost. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
this New Year's, next New Year's, the New Year's coming
Wow.
up is my 3rd year's anniversary as a full-time member of Dark Side Cowboys. Yeah,
That's incredible. Can I ask about the very, the Western inspiration, the cowboy kind of aesthetic? Where did that come from?
that's a very good question. It's a very hard question. I think Nick, who's the vocalist of the band, and who is the only one who's been around since the beginning. He was very much into. It was not that he was a big fan of Fields of the Nephilim, not really, not from the beginning. But he was very much into old Western stuff, and he was playing the board game Blood Bowl, if you've heard of it.
Yes.
Some of us being old nerds, yeah. And when you're playing Blood Bowl, you're playing alien football on a board on a
yes, I have
table.
seen this. Yeah.
And his favorite team was actually called the Dark Side Cowboys.
Oh, okay.
Dark Elf.
So
Dark Elf team.
Dark Elf team, yes, thank you very much. I'm not the nerdiest one in the room. I'm proud.
That's amazing. I love.
Yeah. So from the beginning, they had an entirely different name, and Nick and the guy who he started the band with, they didn't really care much for the name they had found. I can't remember what it was really. And then Nick was having some extra work at a print shop. And since Dark Side Cowboys was his favorite Blood Bowl team, he made these car bumper stickers with the name Dark Side Cowboys on. He put one on his car, and as the story goes, one day they had been rehearsing, and he was closing the trunk of his car after loading in some guitars, and he saw the bumper sticker saying Dark Side Cowboy. Dark Side Cowboys turned to his friend and said, "Yeah, that's what we're going to call ourselves." So, yeah, that's how it And then I think the Western stuff, to answer your question, it sort of grew on us because being called Dark Side Cowboys, it starts your imagination very, very much. And then we started merging it with, Swedish folklore and very much Swedish nature and environment. And we realized, well, if you would take really good cowboy story out of the West and put it in the northern parts of Sweden, what would happen? Well, this is what would happen.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I think it's a wonderful concept. I really like it. I'm having fun all the time, even though I don't think I look very good in a hat, but I have to wear one.
Now, is there any generalized Western subculture within Sweden or Scandinavian in general, or are you mostly just grabbing from the movies or the classic American Old West?
We're generally just grabbing. There's nothing like that in Sweden. Funny thing is, we were playing in the UK in last September, and there were a lot of guys who tried to look like Carl McCoy, the vocalist of Fields of the Nephilim. One of them even having the nickname the Unreal McCoy. Ha ha ha. Yeah.
Oh god.
And I was like, oh, look at those guys, they're cool. And of course, since they're huge Fields of the Nephilim fans, even though the music doesn't sound at least the same, they really love the Dark Side Cowboys too. Cool thing. No, we don't have anything like that in Sweden, not at all.
Okay, because you're certainly not the only band that has grabbed from that. I mean, they're not a goth band, but I'm familiar with Rednecks, and they're coming from that area, and they also grab from the Western.
Yeah, and they're sort of, well, they were sort of a joke band even when they started,
Yeah.
And I think they themselves actually saw it as a joke, and oh hey, we actually made some money on this. Let's keep doing it.
But I actually saw them change more into a bluegrass music a few years ago, and it was different.
I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I may have to look them up again. I'm not familiar with much other than their real pop hits from the 80s, 90s Eurodance era.
There was this really cheesy band in Sweden that was around in the 80s. They never made it internationally, but in Sweden, there were big thing in the late 80s called trance dance, and they sort of made.
Oh, I love them.
Yes,
they are amazing.
Yeah, and they sort of made kind of a Western thingy too, but with pop music. Yeah, well, some of it is amazing, but listen, Dani, I bought the album. That album. They made 2 albums, and the debut album was the great one. I actually bought that on CD a couple of years ago. Like, yeah, I finally got it on CD. Listen to it. Like, well, this didn't age very well, did it?
Nah, bullshit. I listen to them on Spotify. Both their band, both their albums are on Spotify. I had the other album as a cassette.
Yeah,
back in the days.
And you're not bothered with the sort of sometimes kind of sexist lyrics. You're not bothered with that. Try not to listen. Yes.
No, and I don't. I haven't found their lyrics posted anywhere. So yeah, I'm I have missed it.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Thank you for ruining Trans Dance for me.
Sorry. No, I still like them, and I'm very jealous about Nick, the lead vocalist of Dark Side Cowboys, who actually saw them live back in 1987 or 88 or something like that. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Sorry, what was the topic again?
Actually, I want to touch back on, you talked about how your band was sort of taking from the idea of transplanting cowboys into northern Sweden and basing it more into some of the Swedish folk traditions.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other, bands that are integrating goth with more of a Swedish folk tradition background? There are a couple bands that I'm familiar with that are, I don't know if they're not really considered goth, but I definitely played them out at clubs. I got into both Hedningarna and Garmarna.
Yep.
Those were some of my very favorites that I definitely got a lot of good play. But are there any other bands like that sort of mix Swedish folklore or Scandinavian folklore?
Much. Not very much. Garmarna, as you said, is one of my absolute favorite bands as well. I think I have all their albums and all their singles as well.
Just came out with a new one.
Yes, I know. Absolutely fabulous band. The thing with Swedish folk music and folk tradition, and this is, now I'm going to talk a bit about my work again, because since I'm working with culture, I know a lot about Swedish culture now, and how it works. And people who are very much into folk culture, it's very traditionalistic and very conservative. As to say, 80% of the folk music movement in Sweden is very conservative.
Wow.
Yeah.
They really don't welcome the new guys. Garmarna made their debut album back in 91, 92, something like that. And they started integrating drum machines, synthesizers, using distortion pedals for violins, and the old folk people were just looking at them like, well, you're not welcome here anymore. This is not okay, we have a very strong and very proud folk music tradition in Sweden, and a huge one. And I have a couple of friends who are actually two friends of mine who are violinists and who are two of the most famous folk violinists in Sweden. Both of them being sort of anarchistic in the way they approach the music, and both of them at some of the in Sweden there is this thing called spelmansstämma. This is a very hard word, and I would translate it to sort of folk musicians party, something like that.
Okay.
Sort of a festival going on for a day or two, maybe 3, over a weekend, with folk music and people playing everywhere. Hundreds of people with violins and all of their folk music instruments playing folk music. And to some of these, my two friends are invited to some of them because they are a bit more liberal, and to some of them they are absolutely not welcome because they are not honoring the traditions,
Yeah.
So
gross. That sort of relates to the what is goth question and how far people want to go with being very, very specific about what makes a genre or a subculture that thing. In terms of labels, do you have, as a band, do you struggle with labels? I know some people have very strong opinions about saying they are not a goth band or hating labels in general. What's your opinion on that as a musician?
Well, when it comes to Dark Side Cowboys, back in the mid and late 90s, we were very, very keen on saying, we're not a goth band. Well, you do play a lot of goth music, don't you? Yeah, but we're not a goth band. That was very important back then. It was very important in Sweden. I think it was very important all over the world, actually.
Yeah.
And back then we started saying, no, we're sort of an alternative rock band. And that kind of stuck. If you would ask me, I would say, yes, yeah, of course we're a goth band. We've always been. But would I make a statement about Dark Side Cowboys? I would say, no, we play alternative rock.
Okay.
It may be, sometimes it's goth, sometimes it's something else, but we do play alternative rock and that's not, these days is not about not being labeled goth. It's more like, well, you don't want to put yourself in only that corner. As soon as I say we're a goth band, well, okay, then you're only allowed to play goth music. And then all of a sudden we feel like, now we're going to make a sort of folk music record. Or if you've been listening to Dark Side Cowboys, there's a great variety between records, and we like to do whatever we feel like. And claiming being this or that genre sort of creates limits for you.
Right. Has the modern music scene kind of changed the way that you all approach music in any way? But the first thing I think of is usually bands tend to write more singles than they write music for an album. But with Spotify and Bandcamp and all of these trying to get music out there, do you feel like that has changed the way that the band approaches making music?
Yeah, but it's changed for the opposite.
Okay.
We still make singles, of course, because it's the best way to sell an album is to make a good single, and it's always been, or two or three good singles. You release one single, two singles, three singles, and then you release the album. But I think quite the opposite. We try even more to make even more thematic albums, more of a, as we did with the Solstice album a couple of years ago, for instance.
Okay.
There is actually a theme going on all through the album. You have to listen to the whole album you can listen to one or two songs, of course, but to get the full concept, you have to listen to the full album, just like Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. And that's, of course, very pretentious to mention that. Sorry about that, but that was on top of my mind. No,
pretentious is good for a goth podcast. It's okay.
Yeah, I think so too, and that's what we usually say when we have band meetings. Sitting down, as we did this last weekend. I was up in the north meeting the other guys, jamming a bit and having band meetings. And every time we sit down, someone says something like, when we're planning things, isn't that a bit pretentious? And I always say, well, that's what we're all about. We're supposed to be pretentious. We're goths, remember?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you're right.
I did have Dani, can I ask you about, since we're talking about music, are there maybe any band recommendations? They don't have to be specifically goth, but maybe Swedish bands that we might not have heard of here that we can listen to, because I'm always trying to find new music. Could be old, could be new, but anything that you would recommend.
I'm trying to
Sorry
think of
to put
anything.
you on this. Yeah, I do hate when people ask me this question because I immediately forget every band I've ever listened to. So I can.
Yeah,
You-
yeah. I think most of the bands have been mentioned here.
Okay.
There's a band I actually have never heard of before I found them on Spotify called Miasma or something like that.
Okay.
Now I can't remember,
That's okay.
but they are great. And also I would recommend Andreas' other band, Morlocks,
Thank you.
that was mentioned. They are very.
Yeah.
I don't know how to classify you. You're just strange.
I
Yeah.
really enjoyed them. I listened. Well, I was listening to both your bands, though I listened to more with Morlocks, and I really did like that quite a lot.
Thanks. Yeah, our lead vocalist passed away, as you might know, a month ago. So trying to deal with that right now.
Yeah, very.
So
difficult.
making an interview with some great American guys is really fun. That's a good thing to deal with stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is my my wife's grandmother died last night, and we were at her house. We were at her house last night.
Yeah.
And so I was. Yeah, I think this is a good place to.
Yeah. Really sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I know it's we're all in this together. We're all struggling, and it's nice to take community into that and draw strength from that.
If I just may cut in on Swedish interesting bands, I would say band that should get more, and I hope will get more international acknowledgement is a Swedish band called Abu 9. Have you heard of them?
No, I haven't.
Amazing sort of electronic dark wave industrial. I don't know how to classify them. Really.
Those are the best bands, I think.
Really, really great band. Abu 9. And it's 9 like the German 9.
Okay.
German no. That is really great band. You should really check them out.
Yeah, I just remember a band I saw a year ago, perhaps, Gallows Eve.
Yes.
They were really great, especially live, because there's a lot of energy in the music.
Yeah, Gallows Eve.
Yeah, and they warmed up for Funhouse, the old Swedish goth band.
I've heard of Gallows Eve before. I don't know if I've heard their music, but I've definitely heard the name.
Excellent.
I think one of the.
Yep. Sorry.
I think one of the songs is on your Spotify lists, Cemetery Confessions Spotify lists for some reason.
That might be where I'm trying to remember where I've heard them before. Yeah, that's probably
Gallows Eve are absolutely amazing. Just as Dani said, great energy on stage and sort of classic 80s gothic sound. Amazing band.
I told the singer afterwards that his growling was a bit Carl McCoy, and the rest of the band was very worried that I would inflate his ego.
Yeah, they're good friends of mine. They're one of the guitarists and I used to be in a band together some 25 years ago. Really, really good band. Should absolutely check them out.
What is I'm just curious because you've played in so many bands. Is it possible there with because you were talking earlier about how the government funds the arts and music and that kind of thing? Is it possible to make a living off of subcultural music? Because it doesn't seem to be anyone is able to do it here, but I don't know if it's
almost not. You have to be. I think that the guys in Covenant made a living out of it.
That would make sense.
15, 20 years ago. These days, no one makes a full living out of it. You can make parts of your living out of it. And I think that for instance, the guys and then comes silence. I would guess, I do not know this, and I really want to stress this. I do not know this, but I would guess that they make part of their living out of their music. And I mean, they are really, really huge these days. When we were touring the States with Morlocks, warming up for KMFDM, we made a good living during tour. And we came back home and thought, oh shit, we made lots of money selling T-shirts and stickers and patches and CDs and whatnot. And then we started counting the money, counting it against, okay, the visas were this expensive, and tickets were this expensive, and we didn't make shit. I think we had some like couple of $100 left when everything was said down. On the other hand, we made a bit of profit and we didn't lose money, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. I heard recently in two different places, two different people, one on YouTube, one on TikTok, musicians in the goth scene, both made a similar argument. Basically, the 80s was the golden age of music, and that modern musicians aren't making anything new, or at least they aren't creating music with the kind of craft and depth that we had in the 80s. And both of you, I'm very interested in what your opinion about that is.
I'm talking all the time. Dani, you start this time.
Yeah, I refuse to believe that.
Yeah,
thank you.
First of all, disrespecting the 90s. To quote Greta Thunberg, how dare you? But there were a lot of amazing Sisters clone in the 90s, but also bands that did new things like Dead Can Dance and Fatal Muse and Switchblade Symphony. And there's still a lot of bands doing different stuff, but also we have a genre that's almost 50 years old, so it won't get as wild experimenting as it was in before there even was a genre. So of course it's different now.
No. I call bullshit. I absolutely agree with Dani. No. That's kind of a thing that old guys like us in our 50s would say, oh, the goth music was much better back in the 80s. You know, there was a lot of crap going on in the 80s as well. And, you know, in Sweden, there's this popular idea about pop music even being better in the 80s. Every time people start talking about that, both me and my wife and all our friends, and I would say Dani would agree with me as well, saying, you know, the pop music was different, and we liked it because we were very young. But it wasn't better, actually. It was just the same bloody crap.
Yeah.
And goth music and the golden age. No. I mean, just listen to. Yes, Dani already pointed out some of the great bands. I could add more Syphilitica from the 90s.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Great American band, for instance, and lots of British bands and American bands and German bands as well, who made really good stuff in the 90s and into the 2000s and still are doing it. So, no, not true.
Black Tape for Blue Girl.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I went to the cold meat industry, an industrial label in Sweden. They had a store in Linköping where I live, and I went there as very early in my goth days. And I asked them jokingly about the angstiest album they had. So. And so I went home with Black Tape for Blue Girl, Remnants of a Deep Purity.
Yeah, back when I was just.
I remember that. I remember that store. I used to live in the neighbor city to Linköping, where Dan lives, back in the early 90s, late 80s. When was it? Yeah. And I remember walking in that store one time and I was a bit scared, like, oh, this place is creepy. This is kind of strange music, is this? And these days I love that kind of music, of course, but back then it was very, very strange and kind of creepy. Yep.
Yeah, back when I was first getting into goth back in the 90s, that was when, Sam Rosenthal had Project Records in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
And I went to the first several Project festivals.
Oh, how cool is that?
It was so cool. I loved going to see all those bands, seeing, of course, Black Tape was playing because Sam Rosenthal's label. But then like Lycia, I saw, Voltaire started there. There were some really good. Those were my first sort of goth festivals.
That's really cool. I mean, talking about Chicago, you have to mention Wax Tracks, of course.
Oh yeah.
I have friends in Chicago who keep posting, who are about my age, a bit older, keep posting pictures, nostalgic pictures, like, yeah, remember back in the days, and I'm just, grinding my teeth, like, yeah, I was in Chicago a couple of years ago, and the story's gone. There is an actual store in Denver these days, but in Chicago, no. On the other hand, I had the pleasure of meeting a lot of really cool people that had been on the scene back in the day. You know what? I have to tell you this. Sorry for talking a lot, but just about Chicago and about Wax Tracks. Me and Johan, our vocalist, who passed away some weeks ago, we went downtown to bank money because we made lots of cash selling merchandise, and we couldn't bring cash back to Sweden. So we had to bank it. So we banked it to Metropolis Records so they could pay it out to us digitally. So we went downtown to find the right bank office, which we did. Came in there, both of us wearing our leather jackets with all this industrial and gothic stuff, and this guy about our age, all suit and tie, everything like that, comes up to us saying, "Hello, gentlemen, welcome." And we're like, "Yeah, hello. How can we help you today?" And we told them what we needed to do. And yes, of course, we're happy with that. And by the way, is that Laibach I see on your sleeve? And I was like, "Yeah, that's Laibach." Yeah, and then he saw that one of us was wearing a KMFDM t-shirt. He's like, "I love KMFDM." And we said, "Yeah, they're playing here tonight, and we're the warm-up act." And this is, the bank guy with a suit and tie. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you warming up for KMFDM? Where's that? Yeah, it's at the Metro. Oh, of course, I should have figured. And he didn't even know, so he hadn't got a ticket. He was really, really, really upset about that. So we offered him to get on the guest list, but he had other plans for the night.
That's
anyway,
amazing.
Cool thing.
Wow.
Yeah, cool story.
Now, when you were out in Chicago, was the Museum of Post-Punk and Industrial Music, was that in existence at that point? That's relatively new.
I wouldn't know. I mean, I was out in Chicago for a couple of days when we were playing there.
Yeah, Martin Atkins opened up.
Yes, I know about that. And we actually had a couple of friends coming over from Sweden. First off, to see the two shows, and second, to go to the museum. And we didn't have time for it.
Okay. Yeah, you never do when you're on a tour. No sightseeing on a tour.
We realized afterwards that we could have made time for it. Probably have been worth it. But, well, next time, hopefully I'm going back to Chicago sometime.
I had a similar experience with the year that KMFDM played Cold Waves in Chicago. Yep. I went to get groceries, and there was a woman at the store that had a KMFDM shirt on. Huh? And I went to talk to her, and I said, "Oh, did you know they're playing like tomorrow?" And she also had no idea, which was very strange to me. But a fun little coincidence. I think my only other thought about this 80s music thing, just to close that out, is to me, when people talk about this, I can't analyze this from a musicological perspective or from a musician's perspective, but it always sounds to me like my dad's friends who had their favorite bands in high school, and it's just like you you this was very important to you, and that stayed with you over many, many years. So you're very familiar with it, and you just never listened to other music. I spend a lot of time when I do listen to music, listening to newer bands because I want to hear what people are making, and it's fun for me to listen to new things, although I do like to listen to the same things on repeat sometimes. But it does just sound to me like it's a less of a objective thing and more just I have this strong emotional connection to something that's been familiar for most of my life, so that is why I think it's better than new bands. And I don't think this is as much of a problem now, but there have been points in the history of goth where I think that there was so much of an obsession with the 80s that very few people were supporting new music because they didn't want to listen to that. And I don't think that's healthy for the scene either. I think we should be supporting people that are making music right now. So I think that's probably my thought on that.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point there. I like the picture about, my dad listening to his high school music. My dad still listens to his high school music.
Yeah.
On the other hand, my dad actually, I remember him in the 80s. He was all about Simon and Garfunkel and whatever he listened to back in the 60s and the early 70s. Not that I don't like that, I love it, but still, he actually listened to new music as well. And I remember when I told him that I'm really into this British band, Pet Shop Boys, and my dad was like, "Oh yeah, I love them," and I was really surprised. Like, you know about this band? Yeah, really cool band. I really like it. Yes, I think that we tend to do very much the same thing as every generation does. The things that formed you in your youth will stick with you and will always be the most important music for you.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be the only things you listen to. And I know a lot of people from the old generations who are in their sort of 70s something that just sort of looks at newer music and saying, no, that's not for me. Well, have you even given it a try?
Right.
No, it's not for me. And I like it every time that I hear something really new, modern pop music, which I normally don't listen very much to, and all of a sudden I have the radio on. I say, "Oh, this song is really cool. What is this?
Right.
This is an artist called this and that. Never heard of her, him, she, it's them, whatever." And I check it out. Like, yeah, cool songs, And it happens every now and then. Both my wife and I are actually the same, like to listen to new music. Just give me a second. I have to ask my wife a thing.
Oh, please. Pet Shop Boys is one of those bands that it's the one shirt that I wear that I will have, especially when I would take my son to school. Completely normal looking people would say, "Oh, you like Pet Shop Boys?" And I would say, "Yeah, you like Pet Shop Boys?" It's like the one bridge band that I would have in common.
They're a good, safe band that a lot of people, at least that were alive in the 80s, were like, they're fine with.
Yeah. I was just asking. I was just asking my wife, what was that artist called again? LP. Not very new, but has been around for a couple of years. American or Canadian artist that we discovered a couple of years ago. Like, she's from New York, or they are from New York, I think.
Oh, interesting.
Really cool New York artist making sort of modern pop music with kind of a twist. LP, really cool. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I have not heard of them.
Yeah.
Trey, did you have any thoughts you wanted to throw in about this?
I was just going to throw that, but there have been plenty of studies about how, music tastes for the majority of people tend to get calcified between their, early teens and mid 20s. And after that, that's their golden age. It doesn't matter what generation they are. You watch the generations and that the best music keeps shifting as, to
right.
when that generation happened to be in their teens and 20s. With a little bit of bump usually of the music that their parents listened to in their teens and 20s. It's kind of the two little bump. Because I mean, that's when you're just getting into music. So obviously, the stuff that awakened your love of music is going to always stick with you. Kind of like we were talking about what's your favorite album.
You just heard me and Danny G 10 minutes ago talking about, 15 minutes ago talking about the Swedish band Trans Dance. So we were both like, yeah, great band, you know, because we grew up with that. So.
Right.
I met someone at the pub, normal looking guy, a few years back, and he saw this Bauhaus patch on my vest.
Yeah.
And he asked, "How can you know this band?" So he completely missed the whole goth subculture. He heard this band in when they were playing back in the 70s, 80s, and then he completely missed the whole subculture angle on that.
Yeah.
And,
Interesting.
It was, so it was very surprising.
I had a similar experience with an older guy who worked at the grocery store I went to, and a lot of this happened at grocery stores for some reason. I also had a Bauhaus shirt on, and he came up to me and he said, "You're very young. You know who Bauhaus is?" And I said, "Yeah, you may be surprised, but a lot of people still listen to Bauhaus." And he said, "I haven't thought about that band in 30 years." And he was just very excited to see that was still important to someone.
Oh, I thought you were going to make a point about him saying, "You're very young." Sorry. Bad joke. Sorry about that.
There is this chain store called Bauhaus in Sweden. Yep. I think it's German. They sell
gardening stuff and house appliances and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's a great place to get merchandise, like things that says Bauhaus.
Yep.
But a fun thing that is going there is that they ask if you're a member of Bauhaus.
Yeah. Every time.
That's cool.
You know, it's a kind of shop you go, or a kind of store you go to when you need a new garden hose, or when you need a new the large vacuum cleaner for your garage. That's the kind of place you go to. What would you call that kind of chain? Okay,
it's a shop vac usually.
Yeah, sort of hardware.
Oh yeah, hardware store. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, anything you need for your garden or building something on your house, and they ask you, "Are you a Bauhaus member?" Yeah, you wish, or I wish.
Yeah.
I'm not that old.
Absolutely delightful. Well, before we go, I'd like to give you all a chance to share your socials so I can put a link in the show notes.
Are you posting link in the show notes? You're a kid.
What was that?
I'm sorry. I said, are you posting link in your show notes? It was a bad.
My
son.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry.
It's just a picture of him. That's all it's going to be.
Yeah. Okay.
Good. Very good. Okay. So, well, then let me ask, Andreas, can you tell us where people should look for your music, Bandcamp, and those kinds of places?
Yes. You should look at Bandcamp, and you can make a search for Dark Side Cowboys, and that's 3 words. Or you can make a search for Morlocks. You can always check YouTube. We got official YouTube channels, both bands, and you can check if you're using it in America. You can always check different digital services for listening to music, and not to mentioning any special app. We're at most places.
Dani, is there any social media or anything you would want people to go look at if they want to send you a message or anything like that?
If they want to look me up, I'm at Facebook as Dani Scythe, and I'm at Instagram as Dani Scythe. That's in side. That's
Yeah, I can put a link. I'll put links. I will put myself.
But I'm very bad at using Instagram now. I always forgot that it exists.
There are probably some really good pics of you being one of the coolest goth guys in Sweden, actually. So. Yeah, I mean, you look great. I feel just like an old fart next to you every time we meet. Oh, well,
Yeah, but you can. Yeah, it's there's very few new pictures of me, so
yeah,
for
okay,
a
okay,
reason.
okay.
Yeah, I hardly get the chance to practice my makeup nowadays, so it's all the lazy.
Yep.
Oh, yes, I think we all understand. And amazing. Thank you both. I really, really had a fun time listening to both of you talk and getting to learn some things as well. I appreciate it. And everyone, absolutely, just to say again, go check out Dark Side Cowboys. Go check out Morlocks. Amazing music.
Yeah.
And this was really a lot of fun. I appreciate both of you coming on.
Yes, thank you
Yeah,
both.
thanks for having us.
Thank you. It was an honor.
Well, before we continue on with the show, let's listen to a bit of Dark Side Cowboys. They actually just released a brand new single on the day that we are recording. So why don't we take a listen to that one? That is called Scavenger Song.
Meet him on the lonely road, coming at you by foot, wearing the collar of a priest on top of some shabby worn-out rags. A bullet-damaged hat shading the crooked smile, an icy stare, and an old book in his hand as he approaches in the desert sun. Boots and a smell of old earth. There's something erratic about his manners. Speaking incoherently of vindication and salvation. Might find him quick-witted, spitting lines to your face. You may find yourself persuaded, then in a split second you find yourself alone again. All your belongings are gone. Confusion, yeah, you've been hit by Scavenger John. Legend of the Scavanger travels fast. Some say he's a dweller by the moon. Some that he's actually a defrocked priest. Others claim that's not true, despite that scruffy looking appearance. He wields fire and brimstone, frightens sinners to repentance. You've been told you are forgiven, and your sins have been revoked. But you never know when the scavenger comes along. Think he's dead and gone, a myth that comes along. But at night, if you listen closely, you'll hear a distant echo of the Scavenger song. Pray on. Lay down that scavenger song. Lay down the scavenger song.
So you've got to be interested in death. It's the last great taboo. It's the only taboo left.
Precisely. I mean, why is it, do you think, that everyone in here is dressed in black? It's a celebration of death.
No, I just like the clothes.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, the clothes look good. Yeah, I mean, death looks good. Charles Manson, yeah? No, he was cool.
Don't know if I mentioned it before, but I'm actually a vampire.
Sinister Suggestions.
I'm declaring this month Dark Fantasy Month. So something came across my social media feed that was this photo of a film, and the caption, it was a bit of a clickbait caption, but it essentially it said something to the effect of, this could have been the Lord of the Rings film in the 1970s, but instead we got something else. And so that piqued my interest, and I went and read this article, and the article was about the 1981 film Excalibur, which I had never seen before. And I read through this article, absolutely wild article about the director and how he wanted to make a version of The Lord of the Rings in the 70s, and nobody would fund the movie. I later found out there were some... He had rewritten the story. I think he wanted to make it into one film, and he had rewritten it, including things such as Frodo and I think Galadriel fucking and some other stuff like that.
Yeah, they already wrote that. That was the Lord of the Rings, what was it? The Search for the G-String, something like that? The porn parody.
You just unlocked a memory that I didn't remember was there. Oh my God. There's a World of Warcraft one as well.
I have never watched that one, but I definitely saw the G-String one.
So I read through this article. I thought, oh, that's interesting. I'll give this movie a try. And I like dark fantasy. I enjoyed The Witcher show, and I like lots of video games that are in that genre. Probably the most recent one I played was Dread Delusion, which is a big recommend from me. But I watched this movie, and it's like nothing else I have ever seen before, I think. And I fell in love with it. Absolute ridiculous pace at which this film goes. It's basically the entire Arthurian legend, and it's just one thing after another. And I really fell in love primarily with the atmosphere and the vibe of the movie, which is, I mean, obviously dark fantasy kind of describes it, but it has this sort of surreal feel to it. It has that sort of like Vaseline on the lens kind of feeling you might get from like a Cocteau Twins song. It's obviously a big sword and sorcery movie. It's very strange and very delightful. So that was my entry point into this sort of fever dream of last couple months when I've had any free time to watch anything. So I guess my first suggestion would be that 1981 film Excalibur.
And then my question would be,
but
do
then I
you
went on this,
know The Charm of Making?
Oh, yes.
I've had that burned into my brain.
Okay, yeah. So for context, I had actually told Sarah that as well, because when I told you I watched it and then you sent me back the Latin or whatever it was that they put in that movie for that spell, I was like, I think Trey might have seen this 1 or 2 times. But that was like some black belt nerd jitsu that you pulled out there. Oh, did that drop out?
I've seen it several times, yes.
That was very impressive. I haven't rewatched it. I've been meaning to come back to it because I went on this journey to try and find any film that had the same feeling, right? Because I got really into cyberpunk aesthetic for a little bit, and now I'm all in on the chainmail and the foggy moors and the sword and sorcery kind of stuff. So I've been listening to that sort of genre of music, like dungeon synth kind of stuff. But I was looking for movies and TV shows that had a similar feeling. And so I have a couple suggestions, because I've gone through the really good, the really bad, and the painfully mediocre of what's out there in the dark fantasy genre. I haven't watched everything yet, but I'm on my way. So I had a couple other film recommendations, and maybe some we can talk about that were just bad.
Sure.
So I tried to get a bunch of 80s movies, and unfortunately I haven't found any that are similar enough to Excalibur. I think Dragon Slayer was probably the closest, but that's this weird movie it was a Paramount and Disney co-production. So it's a Disney movie with violence, but then at the end, everything is happy, which is not quite, dark fantasy. So it did have that 80s vibe, that 80s dark fantasy feeling to it. Actually, honestly, I think half of the fun of these movies has been reading the information about the making of the movies, especially these 80s ones where it was like the Wild West. Some absolutely depraved and unhinged things went on during the production of these films. The movie that I found, the 2 movies I found that were the closest, one of them is called The Green Knight, which is actually a newer movie that came out maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen that, but I'm familiar with the story. I mean, it's another one of the traditional Arthurian legends.
Yeah.
With Sir Gawain.
Yeah. Incredible. Absolutely stunning film. Cinematically, the cinematography is incredible. It really takes its time. It's very sort of like gothic in the sense of being extremely lush and like sitting with the setting and the emotions and the characters in a way that is really the opposite of the pacing of Excalibur. But at the end of the film, they do have a section that feels very much like a miniature version of the Excalibur story. And it's just whatever the atmosphere of that movie was very close to the film, to that film. And then the other, well, maybe I have 2 others. The other one that I haven't actually finished this movie yet, but The Northman, which is also a newer movie.
Okay.
From 2022. That's not Arthurian, that's Scandinavian, right? But it has that blend of magic that could be real magic, could be hallucinations, drug fueled or emotion fueled sort of blending of what's real and what's not real, along with just these large brutal fight scenes, and the characterization is really, really good. So I would recommend that one. The other one I did watch all the way through that I quite enjoyed is you might like this. It's called The Spine of Night.
Okay.
Also a newer film. But it's a rotoscope.
I'm mixed on rotoscope, but yeah.
The genre of, who were the people that did The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings?
Well, I mean, there were two groups, but Rankin Bass is the one that I'm most familiar with.
Rankin Bass,
did
that's who I was
The Hobbit and did The Return of the King. And then it was, and I always forget his name, he did Wizards. Ralph Bakshi did The Lord of the Rings, and that was the rotoscoped one. But yeah, I just pulled up the IMDb for Spine of Night, and while it is rotoscope, the one still I'm seeing is very Rankin Bass coded.
It does lean a little bit into sort of a Viking feeling, but it's not set in it has a bit of that, but it's not really set in that specific time period. It's sort of an alternate universe kind of thing. There's an element of Lovecraftian cosmic horror to it, but I think it's grounded in a way that works really well. There's a pretty star-studded cast for this.
Yeah, it's got Xena.
It was really fun watching a lot of these. Yeah. It was a lot of fun watching these old movies and seeing like fucking Darth Vader as a cult leader and all these other big name actors doing these roles I had never seen them in before they got famous.
Darth Vader, James Earl Jones,
the voice of Darth Vader, James Earl Jones, yes. In
you mean Mufasa?
Conan. In Conan.
Oh yes. Oh, no, that's a great shift if you know him from other movies. Because I guess he's a villain in
really
Star
unexpected.
Wars. He's not usually portraying such a really deplorable character like he did in Conan.
Yeah. That movie also had a crazy production. Yeah, it's this story of like...
What, the story of Conan or the story of the making of Conan?
No, the Spine
of Night. Okay.
If I could do a summation. I mean, at the base level, it's about a plant that grants power depending on how you use it. It's a struggle for power. It's the forces of imperialism and the abuse that forces onto native people, and the struggle for the peons and the plebs to try and not be made into slaves and that sort of thing. But it gets pretty out there. It feels very much like a shroom trip or something by the end, but in a very good way. Sort of like maybe even like Event Horizon, sort of that feeling where it's very grounded but also very surreal. So those would be my recommendations. But my God, I watched a lot of these fucking movies, and I didn't realize how many Conan ripoffs there are as well, which makes sense because that movie made a ton of money.
Yeah. Did you watch the second Conan too, The Destroyer?
I haven't watched the second one
Okay.
yet, no.
I like The Destroyer a lot. I can't say it's better than the first one, but I do like Conan the Destroyer.
Okay. Yeah, the Conan movie, I don't know. I honestly don't know how I feel about it. The snake was incredible. That was another thing too. That was a weird irony of the movie, that this movie about sort of like slave uprisings and fighting against colonialism. But when they did the snake, they either used slave labor or they used like prisoners for free, basically, to shove them in there and make the snake move around. A bunch of stuff like that. But yeah, I think those would be my recommendations, because I had seen, there's a bunch of stuff I hadn't seen. I've seen obviously the big ones like Legend and Neverending Story and Dark Crystal, but none of those had really scratched this specific itch that Excalibur did, the Labyrinth, that kind of thing. I did like Krull. I mean, Krull was it was very hit and miss, honestly.
Krull is weird because it's a weird mix of that sort of dark fantasy with a weird sci-fi element that I don't necessarily think the mix is bad. It just always, I don't know, I just didn't vibe with it for whatever reason. It just didn't gel for me.
I thought Lady Hawk was kind of fun, but not really like the dark fantasy.
Yeah.
Dark fantasy.
Did you watch Beastmaster?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I enjoyed it for what it was.
That's, I think, what comes closest. I mean, it's definitely in the more Conan vein, but it comes a little bit closest to the dark fantasy. The problem is your point of reference with Excalibur is a very epic,
which is what
serious dark fantasy. And the problem is a lot of the dark fantasy stuff, as you well know at this point, is very much in the B-movie pulp comic book vein rather than high literature with, pretensions of high art.
I haven't rewatched it, but I know that I think it's Austrian. What the hell is the name of this movie? I've heard it described as their version of The Lord of the Rings. And I watched it many, many years ago and got a similar feeling. Oh, The Ring of the Nibelung.
Oh, yeah. That I should have guessed that, actually. Because that's a very, very famous story from, again, it's more Norse mythology, or at least based more in Northern European / Norse mythology with all the Valkyries and whatnot. I know it mostly as the opera. I don't think I've seen a movie variant of it.
It's a 2-part movie, so I don't know if it was like a TV special. I haven't watched it in like 10 years, so I don't remember much of it.
I mean, The Ring Cycle, which I've not seen, is like an 8-hour opera. It's in 3 parts or something like that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's nuts. That's like Ben-Hur. I know that's not 8 hours, but when I was a kid, it sure felt like it was 8 hours. I think that's probably about it. I mean, as far as I watched some other fun, like little TV show things. There's an anime from the 90s called Record of Lodoss War that Hani recommended, which is like the Japanese version of sword and sorcery stuff, which I like.
Let's say Escaflowne is pretty good too, though that's like medieval knight mecha, which is interesting.
Okay.
Or Vision of Escaflowne, I think is what it's called. There's a fair amount of anime that kind of gets close to that.
Vision of what?
Escaflowne.
Oh, yeah, I see it, yeah. It's the first thing that came up.
Yeah. It was pretty popular in the 90s, I think.
But if you haven't seen Excalibur, go fucking watch it. I absolutely loved it, and now I am so excited for the Renaissance Fair, and I want to get a custom-made full plate mail suit and broadsword and all that stuff. I was listening to like Castle Rat and Wind Rose a lot. But yeah, I'm all in on dark fantasy. If anyone has, leave a comment in the YouTube video if you have a favorite dark fantasy, because I think I've collected most of them. I haven't watched all of them yet. I didn't talk about everything I've seen, of course, but please let me know. I will give it a look.
The other movie that's less like dark fantasy, I mean, it's dark fantasy a little bit, but it's very much different in vein, but very sort of unusually disturbing. It's one I did recommend to you, but was Return to Oz.
Yeah, see that I have it.
That's another fever dream of a
watch
movie.
It with Link. I tried sitting down to watch it with Link, but he couldn't get past the first 10 minutes or so, where it's just the little girl on the farm, and he's like, "What am I watching?"
Oh yeah, no, get past that.
So boring. He's like, "I'm so bored," and then he wouldn't let me watch any more of it. But although when we watched The Matrix, that was like one of the best moments of my life, because he was so into that, and I was so into it.
He's definitely the right age for The Matrix. Maybe a little bit young, because he's not going to get deep into the pseudo philosophy of it.
Yeah, but he can rewatch it.
Yeah, But he'll definitely be
You know,
100%.
and
I'm sure he was definitely 100% on board with the action and just the
yeah,
excitement and the whole hidden truth is out there
dodge
stuff.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, because he had me watching Amazing Digital Circus, and that has one of the main themes of that is like an existential crisis and what does it mean to be me? What does it mean to exist? And who am I in relation to other people? There's some Matrix references in there as well. And as I was watching through this show with him, I just thought you would love this. And he did, and I did too.
Yeah.
It was great.
Digital Circus is also based on a really good short story.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
I didn't
Harlan
know.
Ellison's "I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream," but I Must Scream.
Oh, yes, I did know that. Yeah, he told me there was a reference to that.
Yeah, it's very much
Um,
kind of based on that short story.
oh, I might as well mention Crypt of Carmilla as well, for the Dungeon Synth. I've been getting, that's the funny thing too, is all my TikTok, not all of them, a lot of my TikTok videos have been, have you seen this dark fantasy movie? And like, here's top 10 dungeon synth bands you might like, and all that kind of thing. Wizards running around in the forest and weird shit like that. But Crypt of Carmilla is a longtime favorite for dungeon synth. As
Actually,
far as music, yes, please.
I was going to say, I actually listened to it's not really a dungeon synth podcast, but it's a podcast that talks about a lot of that sort of music. And it does do dungeon synth, but it's called Night Clerk Radio.
Okay.
The
I like
the
title.
subtext is haunted music reviews, and they deal with vaporwave, dark ambient,
Okay.
dungeon synth,
Oh,
all that sort of retro aesthetic dark music.
I love that.
And I've
That sounds
enjoyed
great.
it. I have right now. I'm kind of excited to get to the next episode, though it's pretty far down my playlist. But cinematic doom jazz is their next
yeah.
episode. But yeah, it's enjoyable. It's interesting.
I'll try and check it out. And that's sort of the theme of my life, because I have a couple music recommendations, and nothing that I would say like, oh, this is the top must listen to album of 2026 or something, because I haven't I've talked about how busy my life is, but the last 3 months I've been studying for an exam to get a Network Plus certification, because I'm working on I'm in a situation where I need to get a job with more money, and the way to do that is I need to specialize and learn some skills and things, and unfortunately that takes a lot of fucking time. So I haven't had a lot of time to listen to music or any of, enjoy movies and films and that kind of thing. I'm on a little bit of a break now, so I've been trying to get through some random stuff on Bandcamp. And I ran into a couple things that I enjoyed and thought it would be worth throwing out there into the multiverse. The first one was this band called Dark Ways and their album Rust, which is you could call it I'm honestly kind of sick of darkwave, but they do darkwave in a way that's not exhausting, because there is a lot of like rock and other influences in the music that make it actually quite interesting. So it has the danceability, the dark, depressive danceability of darkwave that I enjoy, but it's not the sort of, at this point, formulaic sound that you would expect. I wanted to read the synopsis of the album real quick, because I enjoyed what they said. They said, Rust is an exploration of decay, impermanence, and the passage of time. The album delves into the human confrontation with aging, mortality, and the emptiness that underlies existence. Through visceral imagery and introspective lyrics, it reflects on the erosion of identity, the futility of ambition, and the quiet disillusion of all we build, capturing a world where nothing lasts and every effort eventually fades into rust. And that has been a theme of my life at the moment, with everyone around me dying. So that was hit me in the right spot. Also, if you haven't, this has been covered a lot because the album is fantastic, but the new album by Diaval Strain.
Oh yeah. Okay.
William Faith produced it, and yeah, it's incredible. It's great. It's I don't know if I would call it a death rock album or a goth rock album, but it certainly has that edge to it. But it's I said it was complex, hauntingly atmospheric, oppressively danceable, and obstinately arcane, and a modern classic. So I really, really enjoyed that. And then I believe I wanted to mention the Chicago bands I've really been into recently, because there have been a good amount of new Chicago bands. But I think I might have mentioned them previously, that being Unvirgin Mary and
Lilac Lament.
Lilac Lament, yes. Two great bands with young folks in them. Young folk.
Young
how
folks.
old am I?
All those young whippersnappers in their music.
Take me behind the shed and put me out of my misery. Yeah, just really fucking good music. And it's been exciting to see lots of good local bands putting out new music. So both of those bands, I believe, had singles recently. And I think that's probably about all I've got for recommendations.
All right. Well, as far as music recommendations from me, I think the newest collaboration that came out between Nine Inch Nails and Boys Noise, based kind of on their latest tour, was really good.
I didn't listen to it, but I did see someone post that.
I really enjoyed it. I listened to it. I mean, I'm a pretty big Nine Inch Nails fan, though my interest in them dropped significantly after like Broken and Fixed. So I'm definitely an early Nine Inch Nails fan, and this wasn't really doing their early music. But it did have a couple of their, I mean, it was basically, it's described usually as a combination of a live album, a studio album, and a remix album, because it's kind of a mix.
Okay.
The track listing is basically follows the track listing of their Coachella performance. But I think it's a really interesting album. It has some really interesting reworkings of Nine Inch Nails songs, and it's all through their career. It's not any particular age, including some soundtrack work, some covers. I really liked it. I thought they did a really good job with it. I thought it made the songs fresh and interesting, not just retreads of the old thing with a techno beat added to it, like bad 90s remix albums. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. I saw recently that Trent had said something to the effect of the biggest problem with music today is that it is something that happens in the background. Nobody sits down and experiences music anymore.
Yep.
And I did my first reaction was, yeah, I can agree with that, because A, yes, lived experience.
Yep, guilty.
And B, it would make sense both from sort of the cost of living and how much everyone has to work, and also the attention economy and just all of that going on. But I don't know if, I mean, obviously there are people that sit down and listen to music, but I don't know if that's more of a niche thing. It probably is impossible to say, but it sounded correct, so I did enjoy that.
Yeah, no, I definitely.
Ooh, another
I definitely
music.
feel that. Go ahead. What's your other music recommendation?
Another music hot take was, I think it was Corlix was commenting on people saying that rich kids ruined music, and their take was that less that the music is bad, because the rich kids making music, they have all of the resources at their disposal as far as instrumentation and time and training. But the point that was being made was more about the lyrics being sort of soulless and not having a real impact or having much of a like much meaningful content, essentially, and sort of talking about how music of the past, again with going back to the past, but music of the past having lyrics that kind of changed your would change your life and really make you reflect on yourself and the world around you.
Yeah, because you're 17.
Yeah, yeah. The thing was, there was no real mention of like what bands.
Yeah, I would really like to know
rich kid bands,
who their examples were. I mean, there definitely are rich kid bands out there. The thing is, with modern music, especially, there's so much of it out there made by so many different people that if you want to make a point, you can find a very significant corpus of music to pick on that exemplifies your entire point. Like the kind of output that you'd get in the year of 1982, you could find a subset of the music released now that is similar in quantity to the 1982 music that was released on most major labels that year and make a thesis around that, just because there's dozens of music release platforms. There's everybody and their sisters making music in their home studios and on their iPhones and everything. So it's so easy to cherry pick any subset of that massive amount of stuff that none of us can even scratch the surface on and make a point.
Yeah. I'm not really a person who reads lyrics anymore either, mostly because of time. But so if your lyrics aren't comprehensible within the song, I'm not really going to know what you're talking about anyway, as we saw earlier on this episode with Trans Dance. If I can't understand what you're saying, I'm not going to know because I'm probably not going to look it up.
Yeah, no, pretty much the same. I mean, there's a lot of music that I listen to that's not even in English, and I'm mostly listening to it for the sounds. I mean, I generally consider a lot of music that I don't know the language or don't understand the language to be functionally instrumental music. It just happens to have a voice in it. And sometimes that's reductive because it is actually lyrical and they have poetry and they have actual words and meaning. And sometimes it's accurate, like your Cocteau Twins or some of that sort of stuff where they're not actually, not in all the cases, but there are a number of songs that they aren't actually singing words. They are just singing sounds. And that's fine. But yeah, I definitely listen to a lot of music that I can't necessarily even understand the lyrics, though you can find translations for everything if you really want to. And I will sometimes look into that. But yeah, for a lot of times I'm not really reading the lyrics either, though every once in a while, if a band really, really sticks out at me and it just was like, it only needs one line. And if it's like, oh, that's a really interesting thought or literary fragment that you put in there, I need to look up what the rest of the context is. Then I will look up and read lyrics.
And actually another good band popped into my head that I was listening to recently called Bloodbath out of Michigan. And I believe they're going to be playing Chicago in the future.
I mean, Michigan, probably, yeah.
But that is Tividelic's band. Also really good, incredible voice. Like, Tiff has an insane voice, so just for that alone, I think is worth the price of admission. But yeah, what, you had a book? Otherwise, I'm going to keep thinking of bands to recommend.
I did have a book, yes. This I read relatively recently, and it was very good. It's called Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab.
Ooh. I thought that sounded familiar. Sarah's got a bunch of V.E. Schwab books.
Yeah, I've read a little bit of their stuff. I think actually Sarah recommended, because she was a big fan of, I believe it was like a...
For context,
3 dimensions.
Sarah is my wife.
There's like a 3 dimensions series that she recommended to me many, many moons ago. Let me look that up here.
Yeah, Sarah really likes V.E. Schwab.
Shades of Magic was the one that she recommended to me. It was probably 10 years ago at least. Actually, yeah, probably if it was just coming out, because that was released 2015, 2016, 2017. So probably 8 to 10 years ago, she recommended, and I really, really enjoyed it. I kind of fell off. I didn't read a lot of Yishua, but then this thing popped up.
That's the newest book, isn't it? Isn't that their newest book?
I don't know if it's her newest book, but it just came out last year. It was last June.
Yeah,
the publication date. Yeah. So if it's not her latest book, it's definitely up there. And it's a sapphic vampire novel.
Hell yeah.
Very LGBTQ coded. And it's an interesting twist on the vampire mythology, because a lot of the traditional vampires are this. They have these weaknesses. They have these strengths, yada, 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 are true.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are different. Sunlight doesn't kill them, but it does weaken them and makes them feel really, really exhausted and terrible.
I like that.
The other interesting one that I really liked is grave soil. Grave soil's a weakness because death calls to death. And if they touch grave soil, they get dragged down and it's very hard to escape from it. It's like it just sucks the life away from them, which does take out the vampires bumming around in cemeteries concept. But it's an interesting twist that I'd never heard before. Stakes to the heart, still fine. Yeah, that's how you kill them. Whatever. Though it's not necessarily, it doesn't need to be a wooden stake per se. It's basically anything that pierces the heart.
Okay.
So it's that sort of thing. And the idea of needing to be invited in was an interesting thing, because vampires can do that to each other. You can claim a space as a vampire too. And based on will and perseverance, you can make that space very large. Like there was one vampire at some point in it that claimed most of the city of Venice. So yeah, there's just, it's a lot of interesting little twists. It takes place, it's kind of multiple parallel stories, though there's really two parallels. There's the first character that starts in like the 1400s with her turning, her embrace. And then we kind of follow her through her life. She's very much a solitary vampire who occasionally gets companions. And we have that. And then we have a modern day incarnation where this original vampire isn't apparently, she appears later, but they don't appear to be connected right at the beginning. It takes place in like 2016, 2020 in a college town, something. And, both of them start following a human before they get turned. Now, the older vampire, you get to see most of their life, where the newer vampire, we don't see much of her life because she just gets turned and then she gets embroiled in part of the story of this older vampire, because it turns out that there's a connection there. But it's really, really good. I thought it was really well written. An interesting twist on the vampire mythology.
I love a good vampire
friendly
twist
with a sapphic focus. Yeah. It did not have much, it was almost entirely a cast of female characters.
Excellent.
There are men who are in and out, but not really in the sort of, there were male vampires, but they definitely did not take the primary role. It was primarily female vampires doing their thing.
Hell yeah, I love
really
that.
Good book. I definitely
if I could find time to read a book.
Yeah. Well, I read the audiobook and I read it. Well, you don't have a commute. That's the downside of working from home. You can't get much reading done from the way to the bedroom to your office.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, that was kind of a joke that I've been doing with Link, where I used to read him bedtime stories and he doesn't want me to do that anymore, and I'm sad about it. So somebody got him the collection of Percy Jackson books for Christmas, which he hasn't read. So when he goes to bed, I will read one sentence every night. So
I have a nephew who's a huge Percy Jackson fan. Got really into mythology because of that too. Does Link actually read?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Does Link read now?
He does, yeah. He
not
reads a
able
lot.
To,
well, he reads less than he used to.
Sure, but he does read, which is somewhat unusual in his cohort too.
Yeah. Oh God, don't get me started on that. The only vampire thing I've consumed. Oh, although to be fair, season 3 of Interview with the Vampire is on the horizon, and I could not be harder.
I've heard lots of good things. I definitely need to dive into that a little bit.
I have been watching the So there's Dimension 20 on Dropout TV, which is their Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
What do you call those? Live plays? I don't know. But
Something
they're
like that.
doing a Vampire the Masquerade
Oh, interesting.
one-shot thing, which I've been watching, and it was not what because I love the Jason Carl, LA by Night and New York by Night and all of those seasons. And this is not that, because they're a bunch of goofy bastards. So it's a very silly version of Vampire the Masquerade, which I haven't really seen done before, because Vampire tends to be very serious, very po-faced. So if as far as a comedy thing is concerned, if you're interested in that, it works pretty well. But.
Okay. Also, speaking of vampire stuff, since you were just talking about Vampire, not the Masquerade, but Interview with the Vampire and the whole Anne Rice world, I think you've watched her YouTube before, Jess of the Shire. She does a lot of Lord of the Rings stuff.
It does sound familiar.
She did just recently, partly because she was excited about the Lestat show as well, or the Anne Rice show. She did a complete guide to the Vampire Chronicles.
Let's be honest, it's the Lestat show.
Yeah.
Complete. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
It's right in your wheelhouse. It's a 3 hour 45 minute YouTube thing, and she gives sort of a pseudo synopsis / take on all 13 books in the Vampire Chronicles series.
Okay.
And I mean, a lot of it was new to me because I got to Amonach the Devil and I was like, okay, I'm done now. That's about as far as I got in the Vampire Chronicles.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll watch that instead of the part 1 of 3 5-hour and 45-minute video ranking all 400 From Software bosses.
Oh God.
Just a complete waste of my time.
No, that's leisure. But you could be reading.
I could be studying. It's the time I spend before I fall asleep in bed when I don't want my thoughts to happen to me. So I just scroll through YouTube until I physically can't stay awake anymore. Very bad coping mechanism, but I'll put that in my list. And with that, our episode comes to a close. Bit of a time jump here. Please excuse my voice. I've lost it. But I'd like to thank you for spending time with us. A big, heartfelt thank you to everyone on Patreon who supports us. If you would like to support this show, you can go to patreon.com/Cemetery Confessions. We will return next month with a new episode. So thank you for listening, and until next time, stay dark.
The preceding program is a member of the Belfry, a network of blogs, podcasts, and videos for the darkly inclined. Go to thebelfry.rip for more information.
I'm being gothic, having a nice glass of red right here.
Excellent.
Big one.
I just have black coffee, but I think that's okay.
Great.
Goth enough.
Yeah. Given what time of day it is at your place.
Yeah.
that's a bit more decent, I guess.
I told my wife that you were having a cocktail, and I said, It's too early for me to drink. And she said, there's no rules here. You do whatever you want.
Exactly.
I thought they were going to have a Swedish theme and drink Malloy.
Oh God.
That's definitely available out here.
No.
Yeah.
Will ruin the rest of my day, I think.
Yeah, where do you guys live, by the way?
Well, Trey is in Chicago. I am just outside of Chicago.
Oh yeah. I love Chicago. I played there with Morlocks, one of my bands at the Metro nice. 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Oh.
Yeah, we were warming up for KMF Jam. We did 2 tours in the US.
Hell yeah. Was that for their tour, or was that a festival, or
their tour? Okay. We were touring with them 2 times. First one we did just, I think it was 8 shows, and then we came back and did, was it 15, 20 shows, something like that? We ended everything on Halloween in Chicago. That was absolutely awesome, playing in Chicago at the Metro on Halloween 2 nights in a row. Awesome. That was really cool.
That might have been the one. KMFDM's played here a few times. That might have been the one that sold out that I couldn't
Yeah,
get to.
It did. I think both nights were sold out just because it was Halloween.
Yeah.
That was probably the reason. That's what they told me anyway. Whatever the girls called the organizer at the match, I can't remember.
Right.
Yeah, never mind. Good place, cool town. Anyway.
Oh, I appreciate that. Hell, there's a lot of great shows and venues here. Yeah, I appreciate that.